So previously we had looked at unioning, and you saw that if you union members that have been coped, it leaves the original cope in there but combines all the members. And we can kind of further this cope by, let's turn that auto cope back on. We can further this cope here on each one of these members by turning it into a bolted cope. Right, and then let's try to union that back together. The center lines touching and them being the exact same members are really what matter here. That's why we're able to, even though these are completely separate solids, what we're seeing here is the same member with the center lines touching is what allows it to be unified again. So there's a couple ways to reset this. I think I previously showed that you can double click this and just hit OK, and it'll reset it in 3 pieces. You can also, by stretching a member, it will try to redraw it. Again, it's using the original clipping planes. Even if I get rid of these, it may still keep them. No, it doesn't. So getting rid of those beams gets rid of the clipping plane. So another thing that you can do when you have something like this to get rid of copes and your coping planes and all this stuff is to, where is it? You can reset. It's called Convert Solid. So you just click the member, and what it essentially does is the same thing as double clicking, and it kind of resets everything. And it looks like it still kept these clipping planes. These clipping planes, but these coping planes. So if I get rid of those coping planes and select this beam, everything's converted back. This is great for kind of resetting a member. Double clicking works fine as well. However, it works fine in this instance for wide flanges. It's easy to just double click, but sometimes you'll see that doing something, and I'll choose kind of like an oversized member here, like a 6x6 by half or something. You'll notice that if I do something like an angle, it may not reset itself. So here's our angle. Let's put that at the back side. And let's cope this angle out. And we'll do a welded cope. Okay, now we got all of our angles. All right. And you can see I've got copes in there. And let's try to double click this and hit OK and reset. And in this case, it did it. So kudos to this one. I have had times in the past where double clicking a member would not reset it. Luckily, in this case, we're able to see that auto cope is still turned on, which is great. So in this case, you can double click these. Convert Solid just kind of allows you to convert all of them at the same time without having to double click and go through each one individually. You can just do Convert Solid and reset them and then union them back together, or you can union them first and then double click and reset the member. There's a few different ways to do this. They all kind of work. But most importantly, if you're not having to deal with a union, if you just want to reset the cope on an object, maybe this used to be, let's go all the way back here. Maybe this was a 824, and I don't know, now it's going to be a 1033, and it's got a different type of cope. Well, okay, so you could reset the beam that way. However, I will tell you this much: CADWorx knows as long as you maintain this cope, it will change automatically. If I change this back and forth, let's say go like down to an 818, you'll see the cope automatically change with it. So that's kind of a nice feature of coping that I forgot to mention earlier, that it will keep it. But sometimes these copes get lost. Like if I were to, I don't know, let's change this back to the original 824. Let's say I copy this beam over. Right, let's say I erase the original one and I copy this over. Well, I've lost the cope association. So what happens is now that I go change this over to a 1240, you're going to see that the cope just kind of gets removed altogether. It just loses that cope functionality because I basically removed the cope association. But it kept it on this side because the cope association is still there. So anyways, Convert Solid here is just a way to reset a beam or reset the status of a beam back to kind of its default state. If you need that, and there are times where you may need to reset, back to getting rid of copes and cuts and things like that. So that's Convert Solid. This is not available in the condensed toolbars. When we were looking at, I think it was plant, and then where's our toolbars? Toolbars. and then it was where's steel? Steel. This is like the condensed toolbar. Convert solid is not one of those functions, and honestly, I really don't need to use it that often. Majority of the time, when I've got a cope, I'll just double click the member to reset it because I'm only doing it for one member here or there. So, but it's there if you need it.